Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I've always wanted to be chased by a mutated abortion and have them try and eat me while it giggles like a baby. That's fucking amazing. And I wanted to recreate that. I want, like, it's right in my wheelhouse. This is exactly like the fucking shit I do, right? Goopy abominations. It's perfect. So yesterday I posted this animation and you can go check it out right now, or don't worry, I'll be showing it to you later throughout this video. And let's talk about it. Let's talk about how I made it. What did I do to make it? I made it all in Blender. I'm just trying to make higher quality videos, higher quality animations, so I really force myself to take my time with this, and I'm going to keep on doing that from now on, at least for the near future, which is exciting. I ran right ahead and I just like started sculpting it, and we're gonna skip all the boring parts, you know, just like I lost the footage. Shh. Okay, I'm sorry. So we're just gonna get right into like the detail of it. I made the overall form and we're just gonna do the detail, right? Okay, so I made sure I used references as a guide, but because this is such an amorphous being, I only used it as a guide. I didn't try and do a one-for-one perfect representation. I just wanted to get the essence of the sculpture. While this is all happening, I was working with a procedural texture. I was just kind of playing back and forth, just trying to see how the sculpture would then affect the procedural texture, and then I tweak the texture, and then I go back and tweak the sculpture. I'm not very good at texturing by hand myself, and also I just don't like it, and so I prefer procedural textures as much as I can. But it's really cool because it's mostly anatomically correct. Like, you can tell that the artists were really pulling from real life. They were actually putting the muscles in the right spot. The thing needs to move, right? And so it needs to have a pulley. It needs to be pulled by something. And then another thing too is I'll scribble. I scribble away, and I just kind of let my hand do its own thing. And I'm just kind of going around and doing stuff. But I don't worry too much about what it's looking like. I'm just kind of using it as like a guide, because my promise is the repetition. And so that breaks up the repetition is when I'm not paying attention too much, and I'm just kind of like going around. And then I'll go back into the scribbles, and I'll really accentuate certain parts, and really like I use the scribbling as my guide to further the texture. And now it's starting to look like a brain, which is neat. Not really what I was going for, but I don't hate it. I really was trying to take my time with it. I made sure I blocked out good portions of time to really work on it, you know, like, because my problem recently has been that I've just been rushing all of my pieces, and they've just been missing something. They've been feeling rushed to me. Really taking my time with this definitely paid off. I recommend first doing all of your detailing by hand, as much of it as you can, before you pull out other brushes, other like texture brushes. And usually, especially with this kind of a form, I'm gonna stick to just a rock brush, and I've talked about this a lot before. Again, I'm just double checking to make sure my procedural texture is working, and then we're gonna go back in, and once I've done all of the texture brushing that I think is necessary, I'm gonna go over it again with some of the simple brushes, and just add more detail, make things make sense, blend the lines. I don't want people to be able to see that I used any brushes in my sculpture. I want it to look like it's all intentional. You know what I mean? Also, I like to add in my fingers last, so that way things don't get messy when I'm doing all the remeshes. It just makes things simpler. And then I gave it a simple rig. I just like followed the spine. I didn't even do the fingers, you know. It's just gonna be walking around like this, and that's chill, because it's gonna be dark, and I knew what I was going to be doing. If you're gonna move the fingers, you have to rig the fingers. I knew I wasn't gonna move the fingers, so I just skipped that part. There's just no need. I wanted the jowls to be able to whatever that is, like oscillate and gyrate and whatever the fuck. And so I made sure to put in some bones in there. So the model is made, It has been rigged. It's ready to go. So it needs a place to be. So I wanted to make a corridor for it. I was trying to recreate the first encounter with the baby. And so a corridor is just a cube, and it's a stretched cube with more stretches. Make sure you flip the normals. Make sure, because we're going to be on the inside, so we want the positive normal to be facing the inside. What little I know is that loop cuts and extrusions are your friends. It's very simple what I did. I just did a bunch of loop cuts to get the tiny little pillars, whatever the fuck they're called, the little jut outs, and then I did more loop cuts. And I get most of my textures from Polygon in most cases, unless if I want individual images, then I go to texture.com. We did all the texturing, very simple stuff. We just need to animate it, dude. So I did big blocks. First I moved the whole body, and then I moved the hands. And so then rather than showing you the whole animation process, I'm gonna show you all of my test renders. So here they are. I think they're really cool. So at first it's gonna show you the whole body moving, and then I did each arm individually. And then I wanted some residual motion of because it's heavy and it's struggling to keep itself up because the arms are pretty small, but then its body is so big and gross, and so it's just having a really hard time to pick itself up. Then I started to do the camera motion in reaction to the body, and then after that it was just small tweaks here and there, and then it was just putting some sounds in there. It was pretty straightforward. It's just a lot of, I did it all in Premiere. I used actually Epidemic Sound, and because their sound effects library is really big. I really like their stuff. It's $15 a month. I think it's worth it, especially you get really good music from it too. That's what I did. That's how I did it. And the next thing that I'm going to be doing is going to be Spider-Man, but not the Spider-Man that you think about. Spider-Man. It's fun doing breakdowns, talking about and showing what I do and how I do it. Because it's not that crazy, you know. It's definitely possible. You just gotta do it. Another thing I want to talk about is, before I rigged it, I decimated and then baked the texture right back on it, so that way my computer didn't explode. So I just skipped over that because that's a really boring and technical part of it. But yeah, just if you want me to do a video on it, I can do a video. If you want to 3D print this for yourself, I dropped the STL on my Patreon, so if you want that, fucking snag that. I also have a bunch of other STLs or OBJs, and I also post a bunch of other stuff on Patreon that I think would be super cool, like my Aaron and another Titan, and I'll be having more things in the future. An eyeball, really realistic eyeball. I think it's cool stuff. So check that out if you're interested. I plan on starting up making my video game again. I might be going back to Unity. I might check out Unreal Engine 5. I don't know. Probably stick with the Unity for now. It was very overwhelming. I was trying to do too much at once, but now I think I'm ready to go back into making the video game again, so that's exciting. Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.